How are you? Welcome back. Look at the weather. I don't know if this is one of those false springs, full springs, whatever anyone wants to call it, but I think we'll all take it quite gladly now, especially after the winter that we've had and with the warm temperatures that it's bringing. Now, whether or not it's here to stay or not is yet to see, but even in ourselves, it just makes you feel better, doesn't it? Seeing that bit of blue sky and sunshine for a change. For today's video, we're going to be discussing the importance of assessing our grass swards now, but in particular, establishing the balance of our grass mixtures and what that means for performance into the next coming season. Now, quantifying the balance of our grass mixtures, whether these are grazing mixtures or cutting mixtures, is vitally important, especially at this point of the year now. Why is it important? It's because far too often we see these situations whereby it might be after a first cut and a contractor's feedback to a grower is a couple of fields didn't necessarily perform as they've always done. It's only at that point we realise later into the year that actually they're already on the back foot maybe. From a grazing point of view, livestock may not have lasted as many days or weeks on a certain field as normal. Again, possibly a little bit too late into the season to either try and rectify that or come up with an alternative plan with regards to our forage supply for the next year. Now, there's always going to be lots of rhymes and reasons as to why a grass mixture could lose its balance or not have balance. It may be the weather, an incredibly wet winter that we've just had now, so ground may have been poached over the winter from a grazing. It might have been from the significant dry conditions as we had last year maybe. It may be longevity of a mixture, how long it's been established. It may be nutritional in terms of what that crop has about it to perform to its best ability. Or it can actually start at the very beginning with the mixture that's been established and drilled from what was put into the bag. Now, when it comes to formulating any grass mixture for whatever end goal is required, you'll have perhaps heard me discuss in the past that putting any grass mixture together is basically like pulling together a population within a bag. As per people, different species, different varieties have their strengths and weaknesses. They have their different tolerances, they have their different diversities, and they bring different elements to the party for any growing year and for any end requirement. So it's vitally important that that balance from the very beginning is there to ensure that we're not setting off from the start of a reseed establishment again on that back foot with regards to a mixture that could ultimately be imbalanced, not give us that consistency, and in some occasions actually fight against itself. Now, how can a grass mixture potentially fight against itself? Well, on the face of it, putting the best leading varieties of any species into one bag sort of makes perfect sense, doesn't it? But again, as per people, different varieties, different species almost have egos. And if it is that we have a mixture that is constantly battling individually for elbow room, for development, for progression, you can easily lose the balance in a field quite quickly by having certain varieties outcompete others rather than nicely work side by side long term and for the best requirement for your outcome required. Now, if we use this ground today as a live example, you can see we've got a little bit of up and down. This is ground that you've actually previously seen in videos that I've done with regards to cutting options of SAM3 multi-species mixtures. We know that those fields at that time when I did that recording were hellishly consistent. There will always be space for diversity. There will always be space for mixtures not necessarily looking totally uniform, but it's when they start breaking from the norm as to what it is that we want them to be that we need to start assessing them and realizing what it is that they're going to give us over that next coming season. Now, for as wet as this ground might sound on the microphone, because I'm sure it'll be coming through, that's actually because it's been recently pumped on now that the conditions have allowed, and of course throughout the close period. So yeah, ideal for me to be walking across today. However, last year, as I say, as a SAM3 cutting mixture, these crops went through significant drought. Actually, it wasn't until that video that I did in probably August time that we started receiving some meaningful amounts of rain. And yes, grass mixtures did green up. We've always got to bear in mind that throughout those situations, grass will always turn green. But as we discussed at the time, what are they turning green with? Are they turning green with your existing grasses coming back from the dead? Or is there a lot of weed ingress in there? Regardless of that, we haven't had the weed ingress of grass species that we don't want in here, but the balance has altered. Through those significant dry periods, we had ability of growth from the likes of the legumes and the herbs that were within this mixture, actually bolstering what it was that we're able to cut later into the year. But the grasses really ease back. So what we now need to do is assess whether or not the grass element of this mixture actually has gone too far, or are we all right? So if we look at this crop together, as we look into the light, 'cause it's easier to actually see the difference of species on the video from this, you can see that we've got a plantain in the foreground, we've got a lot of clovers that are well established in the middle of the shot, but actually our grass is the element that's a little bit up and down. We can see that there's a few tussocks of grass here and there, and it's actually whether or not we've got enough plant population between them all to carry on into this next season and almost get back on track again. Now, if we take an even closer look, as I say, you can see that those clovers in particular are really quite predominant, both the red and the white. But we do have the plant population still there of the perennials and the hybrids from this mixture. It's just that from a visual point of view, driving past or quickly walking through, it would be easily perceived that we've actually lost quite a high percentage of grasses from this mixture. However, they are there in number. It's just the different stages that they're at. So where is it for this mixture that that point of imbalance has come from? Well, again, I refer back to those really dry conditions of last year. The legumes and the herbs, their deep tap rooting system, their point of resilience, and of course the quality that they provide, they were the ones that carried on in the drier conditions when the grass eased back. Of course, yes, when the rain then came, everything started to green up again. But of course, we're heading into an autumn and ultimately a winter. Within these populations of mixtures, we also have these batons of resilience that are passed in exactly those requirements that were needed last year that you can pull on. But ultimately, if it is that you do have a mixture that has to pass those batons of resilience between the different species, especially going into a winter, as they go dormant, we almost freeze frame exactly where they were left off in the autumn heading into that winter. So from a population point of view, they're there. They're not looking as necessarily as we would expect to see them. But overall, I would recommend that from this field in particular, yes, it's a little bit up and down, but after first cut, this should really be able to rebalance itself back to that overall uniform yet diverse mixture that we were used to seeing this time last year and the year before. But what would happen if those grasses weren't there? If it was that I felt that we'd lost too much of a percentage of this mixture? Well, of course, we would need to plan. By assessing them now, we understand that we've lost a certain percentage and that some of those elements need to be revisited with regards to an overseeding establishment maybe. So we would take a first cut off and look to potentially overseed this sort of type of ground if it is we felt it was required. On the balance of that, if it is that you don't want to do that, or if a decision's been left too late into the spring, your existing grass and species within the field are really getting away and you'd struggle to potentially establish any new seeds. Again, it's important that we do this assessment, even if that topping up of an overseed is done into the autumn, because you can then, as a grower, plan and expect what it is that you're going to get from a mixture that may have lost its balance but needs improvement. It may well be actually the alternative for a spring is to take that field out entirely, possibly put another crop in within your rotation to then go back to grass again, so that you can plan and bank on what it is you've got coming forward from an overall forage point of view. So that's it in a nutshell relatively for looking to assess our swards from an output point of view for the next few months ahead of us. But of course, it's vitally important that we assess these swards also for the inputs that you're expecting or wanting to give them through the next few months. We know that it's a hot topic of conversation with regards to fertiliser prices at the moment. We also know that as an industry, there is reams and reams and data that quantify the fact that underperforming lays, old tired lays, or grass mixtures that have a lot of weed grasses in there can be up to 50% less efficient in terms of converting that input of fertiliser into growth and ultimately output for either grazing or cutting. And from that nutritional point of view, of course, it's important that we regularly soil sample these fields. We can get imbalances within any grass mixture for an imbalance of nutritional availability within any soil profiles. And of course, the importance of considering the weather conditions that these mixtures have gone through too. Outside of that, what I would suggest is please get out and walk your grass before it is that your grass starts walking you into whatever year it is that we may be given over the next 6 to 8 months maybe. Assessing these swards now will always pay dividends. Hopefully there's absolutely nothing to do and they're all in tip-top condition. But if it is that they're looking a little bit unbalanced, or if it is that you're routinely establishing mixtures and you're thinking, these aren't looking quite uniform from the very get-go, question what it is that you have been establishing in the past before you potentially look to buy more of it and establish more of it going into this next coming season. We'll follow this crop along. We'll take it as it is now all the way till first cut, and then after first cut we'll see if that balance retains and if my recommendation of just leaving it alone has been the right thing to do. So there we have it, just some thought starters from me with regards to assessing your grass swards now for what they could ultimately produce you or not produce you in the next coming season. As ever, if you've enjoyed this one, please like, share, subscribe, click that little bell, and I'll see you for next one. Bye for now. I'm getting hot now. I think I'm even starting to sweat. Christ.